After dedicating countless amounts of time, money, and resources into being matched, it can be devastating to receive this email. That does not mean that all hope is lost, because there are several advantages that you can have if you are reapplying to the US residency match. If you like this type of content, please be sure to power up that like button, hit subscribe, and that notification bell so that you never ever miss another video like this. So now let's take a closer look at the advantages of being a reapplicant. The first huge advantage that you have is that you have the opportunity to improve your application. If you did not previously have ECFMG certification, then it is imperative that you do pursue getting this certification, because as you can tell when searching for programs, there are some programs that specifically require you to have ECFMG certification at the time of applying. Another huge advantage is that you now have the opportunity to do USMLE Step 3. With the USMLE Step 1 becoming pass or fail, and the USMLE Step 2 CK becoming even more and more important, having a passing USMLE Step 3 score is essential as an international medical graduate. Remember that to gain your medical license in the US, you have to have a passing score of the USMLE Step 3. So the fact that you pass the USMLE Step 3 and you have this passing score submitted in your application, this is a huge advantage for you. Because at this point, you already completed the USMLE Step 1 and USMLE Step 2 CK, so now that you finished those, you can focus on the USMLE Step 3. Another huge advantage is that you have the opportunity to gain US clinical experience. If you have absolutely no US clinical experience, then try your best to get at least 1 month of USCI so that you can get a US LOR. Program directors highly value applicants who have US letters of recommendations. And if you already have US letters of recommendations, you should not be breathing too easy, because you have to show the programs that you were doing something since the last time that you applied until now. There can't be a complete blank for 1 year. So if you can afford it and if you do have the time, try to get at least 1 more month of US clinical experience so that you will have a US letter of recommendation that has a more recent date on it. And you can also add this LOR to your application. Another huge thing that you have the opportunity to do is to gain research. So if you haven't had the time to get any research experience, you can pursue getting publications out or working as a research assistant or even volunteering for research opportunities. Speaking of volunteering, if you are in the United States, if you do a quick research on clinic volunteers, you can easily find different clinics that need volunteers, and you can add this to your application and you'll have even more experience in the US system. The advantage of volunteering is that it is free. However, disadvantage is that you might not always get the role that you want, but it is definitely worth a try. There are also many other things that you can do to really improve your application. If you want to get my help and pay for services to help you to improve your application and your chances of matching, all you have to do is click the link in the description and send me a message on Instagram. Another huge advantage of being a reapplicant is that it is less expensive. Yes, you already spent all that money that you already did, but the requirements or the needs, the financial needs that you have during this period is considerably less than you had before. So most of the expenses are now behind you. So you can now focus your resources on applying to more programs. So if you only apply to 30, 50 programs, you can try to increase the number of programs that you apply to. But it's very important that you don't just blindly choose programs, but actually do thorough research on applying for programs that you are qualified for, that you have a high chance of getting an interview and matching into those programs. Do not ask random people for lists of programs to apply to, or blindly trust software out there that will say that they will choose residency programs for you. Always do your due diligence, because your hard work will pay off if you double check and verify that you fulfill all of the requirements that each program asks for, so that your money is not spent in vain. Another advantage is that it is less time consuming. So previously, you probably had to juggle so many different things of preparing for USMLE Step 1, preparing for USMLE Step 2 CK, getting clinical experience, getting LORs, getting research experience, trying your best to write the best personal statement. But now you have the bare bones of your application already in place. You have all of your exams behind you. So what you now can focus on is dedicating time to formulating a well thought out plan. Because right now, you're probably devastated that you did not match. However, you have 5 months to really regroup, come up with a plan, and execute that plan. So definitely know that you need to make that time count. So yes, even though it's less time consuming, that doesn't mean that you should just settle and not revamp or take a second look at your application and your personal statements. Always, always, always go back to the drawing table, get a next set of eyes, preferably a professional that can really go through every aspect of your application and ensure that you are using strong active words in your application, that your personal statement has no grammatical errors, that there is no plagiarism, that it is a really strong personal statement that will entice programs to send interviews your way. And speaking of programs, you really need to take a closer look at your program list. So an advantage of being a reapplicant is that you already applied to a program and you already applied to all these programs and you already have a list of the programs that you apply to. So that is a huge advantage. Now that you are reapplying, you need to double check if you still fit those program requirements. Because remember that every program updates their requirements a month or two before the next match cycle. So programs that you applied to last year, you might not be qualified for this year. So you need to make sure that every program that you apply to counts. So always double check your program list. And next, you need to try to apply to more programs. Like I said, if you apply to less than 100 programs, try to see if you can find 100 programs that you qualify for. Because depending on your application and if you have any red flags such as USMLE attempts or low USMLE scores, applying to more programs increases your chances of matching. So remember that every year, newly accredited programs are added to the list of residency programs that you can apply to. So always do thorough research to find out what new programs there are and see if you qualify for them, and you can add those to your program list as well. And if you are an applicant that's applied to 2, 3, or more residency programs, try to really think and reevaluate what specialties that you are applying to and try to just choose one at a maximum two. So you have to be realistic. If you are applying to very competitive specialties like dermatology and anesthesiology, but you have many red flags or low USMLE scores, you should go into this knowing that your chances of matching into those more competitive specialties are less. So consider other specialties that you are a better fit for and focus on those. So many times there are applicants that apply to internal medicine, family medicine, pathology, and neurology, 4 different specialties at once. Just try to focus on one specialty or at maximum two, because specialties really value dedication to their specialty. Let's say you have the University of MD Powerhouse. You can't go ahead and apply to University of MD Powerhouse's pathology, internal medicine, family medicine, neurology, psychiatry, all of those residency programs, because the program directors talk. This just shows a lack of focus and it really minimizes your chances of matching. So focus on the specialty that you want to match into and dedicate yourself fully to that. The next massive advantage that you have as a reapplicant is your interview experience. So I highly advise that you formulate a list of questions that you were asked during your interviews. If you were fortunate enough to have interviews, it is a huge advantage for you because you can think about what you did and what you can do differently and think of ways of how to improve your answers and your engagement with the interview panel. If you are an applicant that's applied to programs and received 5, 7, 10 more interviews and you did not match, you know that you have serious issues with your interview skills. And I highly recommend that you get professional help on improving your interview skills, and so that you'll have a better interview experience and ultimately match. And if you want to learn more about the USMLE process, then all you have to do is click this video right here.